Good morning. As he said, my name is FannieHall, and I teach kindergarten and first grade at Marie Roberts County Elementary in Breathitt County. And actually, last year, at the end of the school year, I kind of started thinking what I could get my ARI grant in, what was my biggest problem. And my biggest problem last year was reading and writing and connecting those two. So I began thinking, what is the way I could get some reading materials, because I was pretty old school. Whole group reading instruction, whole group writing instruction. I realized that really wasn't cutting it. So I thought, if I had a way of getting some leveled readers for my classroom, I could do guided reading, and my other students could be moving around to stations. And I also wanted to incorporate the Daily 5. So I thought, well, I'll try to get engagement with my emergent readers and writers by getting a printer, so I could get leveled readers printed off. Come to find out, I wound up writing a second grant for the family, the Dollar Store General Literacy, and I got, I think, $2,000 worth of leveled readers. So by the time I got my printer, I really didn't need to print off the leveled readers anymore. However, I came up with an idea that I'm going to write some leveled readers about my students, and I'm going to also allow my students to produce some work, to publish some little books. Often emergent writers, they get pretty frustrated, they struggle, they'll often tell you, I don't know what to write about. So I thought, what better way to encourage them and motivate them than to let the students publish some books of their own. We were going to use the books that they wrote in our classroom library for Daily 5. The students could read it to themselves, they could read it to others. I've even had some of them want to take them home to show their families. I got the Brother HLCDWT color laser printer and scanner. It's allowed me to print from a new program we have, A to Z, this year, and also print the leveled readers that I wrote and my students wrote. I wanted to see if the improvement of my teaching practices would go up because of the ARI grant and the printer that I received. And student engagement really did soar. The scanner and printer, since the students knew that their books were going to be printed and put in the library, they really were motivated to do a good job on their books. They loved to read the books themselves. At story time, sometimes I let them have the author's chair and they can read their books in place of me reading a book, and they really enjoy that attention. I wanted the students to have some student voice. Would they become more motivated if they got to choose a topic and they got to write a book about what they wanted to write about? And I found that was definitely true. The books they produced, I didn't really give any suggestions. I just, in general, said a topic that interests you. And I'll share a couple little books real quick. I won't read them to you. But when I had my students do the books, I had them pretend to be real authors. So they would take it through the writing process, and I would tell them they were going to send their book to the publisher. And then I would work with them, of course, as the publisher. And I would take their copy they did like this, and after it went to the publishers, they would have a completed book. That was a little more professional looking. Some of my students like to work in groups and do cooperative books, like this group chose to write about giraffes. We had been doing a study on nonfiction, and they worked together to do a study on giraffes. And if anyone wants to see these later, you're welcome to. And after they sent it to me, I produced a little more professional copy with their help. I let the students do the typing, and I just helped them get some pictures to put in. Another thing I found that was really good about it was they thought their books were going to help their classmates. They really enjoyed that. I used their writing as exemplars. And I had another little girl who really loved monkeys, and I read it really, really quickly. She wrote about the 3 little monkeys. Here was her basic copy before she sent it to me. And I thought it was pretty cute. She's a first grader. I was really blessed to have back some returning students from last year. Since I had the K1 split, I got a lot of my kindergartners back as first graders. And this little girl wrote, the 3 little monkeys were going to the jungle to get 3 bananas. So we'd done a fiction unit. She was trying to take it through the steps. they started arguing, and Mama said, "Quit fighting." And the monkeys kept fighting. And Mama said, "One more time and you're grounded." And at the end, she just put "good monkeys" as her ending. And this is, I think, my students' absolutely favorite book of all to read that all the kids have written this year. They seem to have a sense of pride when their work is displayed. And recently they've asked me if I can take the books to the library so that other students in the building can read the books. Like I said at the beginning, my first 20 years of teaching, pretty much, I was your standard old school teacher. But this year, I've been incorporating the Daily 5 and done the guided reading. And the printer really has came in helpful because our school requires us to use reading A to Z, and I can print off the colorful books for my students. And it's really helped with the writing process. They seem to want to try really hard if they know it's going to get printed out and published and other people are going to read it. It helped my students make some connections to real life. They had student voice. I think it made their learning meaningful and a more long-lasting experience for them. And they knew they were accountable for doing a good job because I was going to put it under that document camera, be it good or bad, and we were going to talk about it. A few other takeaways. After I did the Young Authors Project, I went back and looked at my MAP scores. My kindergartners had almost 10-point jump from fall to winter. We haven't done spring testing just yet. And my first graders, they had about a 4-point jump on the reading language arts part. And the reason I chose to put these two students here is they seem to have had a little bit more struggle than anyone else this year. However, they were my first two students to level up on reading and writing A to Z this year. Thank you.